The best surf maps for beginners. Number 1, Surf Demise. I think if you're just getting started with surf and you're playing for your first hours, this is the ideal map to start with. It's very easy, it's straightforward, and it's a very, very good map. Well made, visually pleasant, and you get this super iconic surf feeling of going super fast through a massive landscape with huge ramps and all of that stuff. This map is really about surfing at very high speed, and at high speed you want to be extra careful when boarding ramps, when leaving ramps, and especially when turning in the air. The faster you are, the slower you want to turn. So the map is very forgiving, but pay attention to these things because they apply on tons of other maps as well. The second map is Surf Santorini, also an excellent beginner map and one of my personal favorites, but it's very different from Demise. Number 1, it's a staged map, so it's basically subdivided into 8 tiny maps, and number 2, you are much slower than on Demise. On Demise you have like 3k, 4k units, and on Santorini you hardly get faster than 1k units, so it's really a lot slower. This means that you can turn way faster without losing speed, so Santorini doesn't punish fast turns, it rewards them. You still want to avoid unnecessary collisions because that's pretty much always true in surf, but overall Santorini represents a much more uncompromising and snappy style of surf with quick transitions between ramps, really much more direct and to the point. Also, as you begin to run this map faster, you can start paying attention to how much time you spend in the start zones at the beginning of every stage. The map timer of course keeps running, so the general idea is to get onto the first ramp as fast as possible. This can get quite hectic, but it's one of the main things that saves time on maps like this. Speaking of it, there's a lot of similar maps in Tier 1 that are also really good picks for your early maps in surf. I just picked Santorini because I really like it and because I think it's probably the easiest by like a small margin. Map number 3 is Surf Me, and Surf Me is a tech map, which already makes it quite unique because there are very few tech maps in Tier 1. Tech is a style of surf that revolves a lot less around raw speed and more around navigating obstacles and problem solving. Tech maps often present you with problems that at first seem unsolvable and incredibly awkward, but the main thing is really to find the correct strategy and find the strategy that works for you. Because most of the time these problems have several different solutions. There's an easiest one and a fastest one, and usually those two are not the same. So when trying to figure out what to do, don't rely too much on looking at fast runs, world records and so on. Instead, find worse runs that are easier to reproduce or use your own brain to find a solution that works for you. Now, I wouldn't recommend Surf Me as one of the first maps you ever play. It's probably a bit too difficult for that, but I'd recommend it as a map that you definitely shouldn't miss as you go through the Tier 1 maps. Tech gets much more common as you get into higher tiers, and a lot of people really like it, and I think Surf Me is the easiest introduction to it. Map number 4 is an absolute classic, and it's Surf Utopia. When I started making this guide, I thought I probably won't include this because I thought it's a bit dated, it's a bit of a stereotype and so on. But when playing it again, I found no, this map still holds up, it's still a great map for beginners. And that's because it teaches you two really important things. Number 1, curved ramps. About every second ramp on Utopia is curved, and curved ramps work differently to normal ramps. On a normal ramp, you hold whichever strafe button goes against the ramp. So, for example, if you surf on the right side of the ramp, you hold A. On curved ramps, that order is reversed. You hold whichever strafe button goes away from the ramp. So this is absolutely essential for Surf Utopia and for surf in general. The second thing is that Utopia can teach you a lot about routing and transitioning between ramps. The map doesn't really force you into the correct angles, you have to make those predictions yourself. And that is a really essential skill in surf, to be able to predict your trajectory as you go in the air, so you actually land where you want to land. And Utopia really teaches that very well at a beginner level. Number 5, Surf Surreal. Surf Surreal is easily one of the most visually impressive maps in surf, and on top of that, it's also a great beginner map. It is a staged linear map, so it is subdivided into stages, and if you fail, for example, on stage 3, you will respawn at the beginning of stage 3, and you can still complete the map from there. But you can also complete the map from beginning to end in one run, which is of course way harder, but also the only way to get a really good time. There's quite a lot of stage linear maps in Tier 1, and a lot of them are also quite popular, but what I think Surreal does exceptionally well is how many different routes and options and shortcuts you get to discover as you play through the map again and again. It is a little bit like what I said about Surf Me, the fastest route is not the easiest. So take it slow and improve your run over time. Play through the stages with as many fails as you need, and then try and get a run with fewer and fewer fails. Then try and get a no fail, and then try and implement some of the shortcuts and other time saves you find in more advanced runs. Number 6, Surf Boreas. With this one, I'm going to keep it really simple. Boreas is probably just the best surf map ever made. If there's one surf map you have to have played, it's this one. It's incredibly popular. It is also absurdly competitive at all skill levels, even at low skill levels. Getting certain groups on Boreas is comically difficult compared to most other maps. And the reason is simply that this map is so good that people want to grind it again and again and again. The style of surf on Boreas is quite similar to Demise, and Demise is clearly a bit easier. So as a complete beginner, you probably can't beat Boreas right away, but even if it feels difficult, believe me, you are not that far away from beating it. In fact, Boreas was the first surf map I ever beat back in the day, so it really isn't that hard. Alright, that's it. But to wrap things up, here are some honorable mentions. Number 1, Surf Kitsune. Of course, absolutely legendary map, unsurpassed in its visuals, I think, although perhaps not in its gameplay. Depending on which implementation of Surf you play, you might encounter this map both as a staged and as a staged linear map. Next up, Surf Mesa, legendary map as well, and definitely still a great beginner map, but I think as a map that's just grinded into oblivion, it's now been surpassed by newer maps like Boreas. Also, Surf Tendies, this is honestly a great beginner map, very smooth, very easy, kind of similar to Demise in a lot of ways, just perhaps a little bit rougher around the edges. Next is Surf Rebel Scars. This map begins with a booster that instantly puts you at 3,500 units, and then it's just a silly obstacle course to the end where you'll probably have some terrible accident along the way, but if you don't take this map super seriously, I think it's a lot of fun. Next up, Surf City Pop. Very fun, exciting, sort of adventurous little map with a nice and fast rhythm to it, just maybe a tiny bit difficult for a complete beginner. Then Surf Lead Surf Lead XL Beta 7Z, as the name implies, not exactly the most polished map, but extremely easy. But not much more than that. And lastly, Surf Air Control, another super ancient map, but I think here the gameplay still kind of holds up by following the simple formula of going down and down and down, and therefore going faster and faster and faster. And that's it. I hope this helped you. A lot of maps, great for beginners, a lot of easy maps. Good luck. See ya.